Welcome back to the Save the Good Girl podcast. I am your host, Erica E. And if maybe you can tell right now that I'm smiling, and it's not because of the topic, it's because I'm so happy that you're here with me again. And I do believe that it's one step closer that you are making towards your healing. So thank you so much for being here. In this episode, we've made it to part 3, by the way. So we are in part 3 of the grief series. And in this episode, we are going to talk about the power of presence. I believe that you can't go through something that cuts so deep, like grief, without having the assistance of others. Some of you may know about the 5 stages of grief. And if you don't know about the 5 stages of grief, they are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And in the last episode, we discussed how when one grieves, I do believe that depression goes hand in hand. You were so used to someone or something, and now it's no longer. So it's very difficult to deal with that emotionally. So, how do we use the power of presence to aid in our healing? In this episode, we're going to talk about the 5 stages of support. Have you ever heard of that? Probably not, because that's on me. I made this up through my journey, and I am excited to discuss this with you. And we're going to explore what I call the 5 stages of support and so much more in this episode. So let's get started. Have you ever been in a situation where you don't know what you want to do? Like, you don't know if you need space. You don't know if you want to go outside or stay home or talk to someone or stay quiet or pray, lay down, sit down. It's like those phases where you're just like, I don't know what to literally do with myself. Last year, I went through that. I had a day where I was just like, I don't know what to do. So I decided, you know what? Let me at least get up and make my bed. And then let me take a shower and then I'll figure it out because I just felt very conflicted. Like, what am I feeling right now? Like, what? I don't know. So I decided to take a shower and then immediately I put my clothes on because if I don't, then I'll just put my house clothes and then I'll just stay home. So I knew that I wanted to go outside and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go get coffee. Like, that's just always a great solution for me. If I don't know what to do, I will get an iced coffee. It could be zero negative, zero zing zing degrees outside, and I'm going to get some iced coffee. So I decided to get some iced coffee, and on my way there, I did not feel like listening to music. Do you know when you just don't feel like listening to like noise? Like, I just didn't feel like listening to music, but it didn't have to be silent. So I was looking on things to watch, and I came across this video from Dr. Anita Phillips, and the title was "How Are You?" And I was like, "Ooh," because it was so fitting. Because at that moment, I really didn't know how I was. Like, of course, I'm grieving, I'm sad, but that particular day, I wasn't as deep. I just couldn't identify, like, what do I want to do? So I'm listening to the video, and then she said that there's 4 things that we do before we make a decision, and it's knowing, feeling, thinking, and doing. And I'm like, okay. So now I'm leaned in, right? Knowing, feeling, thinking, and doing. Interesting. So she identified it as knowing is the thing that you know. What do you know in your heart? Feeling, how do you feel about what you know? Thinking, what do you think about how you feel about what you know? And then doing, what are you going to decide to do? So I'm listening and I'm like, wow, that's a very interesting way to figure out how to make a decision because I never thought about the process of making a decision. I just think, okay, the pros and cons and how I feel, and then I just act on that. But I never kind of categorized it in that way. So I thought that was quite interesting. So I thought about it. And in that moment, what I knew at that time was I was depressed. What I knew was that I did not like the way that I was approaching many things. What I knew was that I needed to get some help. What I knew was that I did not want to stay in this position forever. What I knew was that the actions and things that I was doing was not healthy for me in any way, shape, or form. What I knew was that I had people who wanted to be there for me, but I was isolating. So I knew that. So I thought about that. Then the feeling, how do I feel about what I know? Well, I felt horrible. I felt insecure. I felt lonely. I felt low. I felt confused. I felt like I was like less than. I was comparing my grief to other people who were grieving. I was like, wow, this person lost somebody and it seems like they got their life on track after X amount of months and I'm still suffering. Is there something wrong with me? Like what's going on? How does this work? Right? Because there's no blueprint to this. I felt very guarded. I felt very negative, like there was no light at the end of the tunnel for me. I just felt low. I felt like all my hopes and dreams died when my father passed away. So everything that I ever thought of was like, I guess it's not going to happen. Like it was literally like that for me. So that's how I felt. And then what did I think about what I know? It made me even more depressed because now I'm acknowledging the things that I'm feeling and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is horrible. You are horrible." So now we're going into the thoughts. You are horrible. How could you let this how could you let yourself get this low? How did you not take a shower for 4 days? Why aren't you eating? Why aren't you talking to people? Like the bully was in my head. So what did I think about what I knew and how I felt? I didn't like it. But one thing I will say was that I didn't like it. And I didn't like that I was there and I really wanted to change. And then the last part, which is the doing, what are you going to do about it? And this is the part of the grief process where action is required. This is not an option. This is not something that you can bypass. This is not something you can bullshit. You action is required. You have to participate in your healing. That is something that is just no one can do it for you. So I listened to that, and these are the responses that I came up with for myself. And I'm like, okay, I know, I feel, I think now it's time for me to do. So, how do I do that? And there are the 5 stages of grief. And if you've noticed, I did not mention them in the first 2 episodes because I do feel like grief is so linear and it's so unique to us all. And I did go through some of the stages, but not in that order, right? You can go through them in different orders. But I thought about where I am right now, and I'm like, what about the 5 stages of support? And support meaning the power of presence, meaning not just with people. So the first one I wanted to discuss actually is the spiritual support. The spiritual support. That's number one. We got 5, right? So the first one with spiritual, I felt like that was probably the easiest place for me to start because I had a lot of questions for God, but I couldn't talk to him. I didn't know how. I was angry and I didn't know how to express that anger spiritually. I never hated God because I couldn't. He he consistently has blessed me in abundant ways. Even at my lowest times, he has protected me and sent angels to me. Anyone who has contributed to any part of my life, even someone I don't know at Starbucks or someone, in the street just saying good morning to me, you're an angel. All right. Because in that moment, you made me feel positive in some type of way. So spiritually, I felt disconnected. So I felt like that's the best place to start. And TD Jakes was someone that was very instrumental for me. I loved the way he taught his sermons. I felt like he really spoke to the pain. I felt like I really resonated with what he was saying. I felt like he spoke about pain, not in a, yeah, it's going to get better, but like in the pain. I remember in one sermon, he said, listen, it's sunny on your side, but it's raining over here. Shut up. I'm not happy. And I'm like, I think that's what hooked me in because I'm like, that's how I feel. That's how I feel. You're all happy and I'm depressed. But I knew that ultimately his messages were uplifting, so that's what really kept me there. So listening to his sermons when I physically couldn't go to church, also, the pandemic and everything. But even when church was getting back to normal, I just felt like he was my pastor. He was someone that I enjoyed listening to. He really, really got my attention. And I was searching even through his old sermons about grief and how to get up and how to do this and how to do that. And he's just reminding me how beautiful God is and how much God loves us and how God loves loving us. And he's there for us even when we don't speak to him. So that was very comforting to me. Another thing that helped me a lot was my devotionals. I actually got my 3 devotionals from Burlington Co-Factory. For my international listeners, this is like a discount store and they sell like everything. So I got 3 devotionals and I chose them in a way where that day that I bought it, I went to the day, I read that particular page, and if it spoke to me, I'm buying it. So I bought all 3, I think. No, I bought 2 in one day and I bought another one because it really spoke to me. And the reason why the devotionals worked for me, and I also had like a daily prayer book. So it's 2 devotionals and 1 daily prayer book. The daily prayer book is literally a prayer for every day of the year. So 365 prayers. And the reason why I wanted to read them and read the prayer book was because I didn't know how to pray anymore. It's like I just lost sense of everything. So there was a point where it's like, okay, God, I want to talk to you. I don't know how. So I'm going to utilize these devotionals and the prayer books to help me. And I'll be honest with you, it really, really did. Those prayer books really helped me. What really allowed me to get back up from isolation was actually a devotional. And the devotional basically said that the devil loves keeping you depressed and isolated because this is where he can play with you and say all these horrible things to you. And then you believe it because you don't have anyone to challenge those thoughts. And after reading that, I'm like, nah, I got to do something. This is not okay. So reading my devotionals daily, even till this day, I still read them. I'm very devoted to reading them. It helps me also understand the Bible better. I like the fact that I can read the scripture and have it broken down and apply it on a daily basis. So I do love that. Something else I love to do was listening to soft gospel music, positive music, soft music. That really helped me a lot spiritually. Something else that helped me spiritually was people actually praying for me because I couldn't pray for myself. So I valued that support of prayer, the prayer groups, the prayer warriors. I love that. That really helped me out. Another thing that helped me was my therapist pushing me to journal about my feelings. I couldn't journal for months, but she never stopped talking to me about it. And one day she said, Erica, even if you just write one word. So what I wrote was, I don't want to journal. That was my journal entry. But I said, because like it was just like just a vomiting of the words. And I was shocked because I went from I don't want to journal to like 7 pages of me journaling. So journaling has definitely helped me out. I also have a gratitude journal and I have instructional journals. So my gratitude journal, writing what I'm grateful for, I was using that. My instructional journal is a self-care journal. And this journal basically asks me just the same question every day. What did I do for me today? And I love that because it allowed me to process and pause. Like, what did I do for myself today? Did I make myself breakfast? Did I listen to a really great song? Did I make a smoothie and I loved it? Did I go to the park and the sun was nice? Like it made me really think about my day. Like what did I do myself for today? Also, I had a another instructional journal which was called the 52 list for calm. So it was basically a list you had to do every week of the year. And an example was what what are you thinking about right now? Like list all the things you're thinking about right now. And I'm like, okay, so I did that. And another example was list what fills your mind when you experience stress, worry, and fear. So I love these kind of books, like these instructional books, because again, I didn't really have the mindset to be free range. So this helped me out so much. And being in that space, writing. Also, I created a healing museum in my room. I believe I said this in the first episode, how I went to TJ Maxx and I got positive wall art in every direction that I would wake up in the morning. Anywhere my head would tilt, I would put wall art there. So if I'm sitting on my desk and I put my head up, I put something there. Like right now, I have be still and know. That was my that was my scripture throughout my whole time of grief. Be still and know that I am God. Like, I got this under control, right? And then I have, you never know who you're inspiring. Like, I had all of these quotes and mantras all over my room. Like, it filled it up. I changed it a little bit now, but I did fill it up. So I had that. And I called it my healing museum because it was so many different wall art paintings, words, positive words. It was just great. And another thing that I did too was get some prayer cards from TJ Maxx. It was like you open up this box and it has a different prayer in each card. If you're feeling sad or anxious or depressed, you pick up a card for that feeling and you read a prayer from it. And one of the last things that I did, not last things, but spiritually, was actually talking to God. I actually started praying. I actually was learning how to speak with him again with the support of my grief counselor and my family and my friends who are praying for me. I actually started talking to him like how I'm talking to you. Like, God, thank you for waking me up today. I feel this. I feel that. Can you please help me with this? Because I know you don't want me to live like this. So I started praying again. And spiritually that really helped me support myself in the continuation of my healing cuz this is not something that I did and I stopped. I'm still doing this until this day. And it has helped me a lot. It really has. But there's so much more that comes to that, right? Because I got the spiritual thing going on, but what about my emotions? How do I deal with that? Cuz that's happening every minute. So what do I do with that? Cuz I spiritually I feel it, but how can I speak it out? I want to give a huge shout out to people who love their jobs, who are dedicated in their craft, and who are passionate about what they do in helping people. Because when I tell you, I would not be able to get through my emotions without support from my therapist and my grief counselor. I would not. And I will say that I feel very blessed because I feel like they both really care about me. And it wasn't just I don't feel like I was just a client. I really feel like they cared about my well-being, like they were really invested in me. They helped me out in so many ways. I can't even, I can't even the things that my therapist has done, my grief counselor has done for me. I'm like, wow, wow. Like y'all love me. Y'all love me. Y'all be looking forward to my sessions. But I would love to give a shout out to people who love what they do because it really affects people in a positive way. And the second part of my 5 stages of support is the emotional part. Emotionally. So we discussed spiritually, and in the spiritual aspect, right? I shared some things that helped me, and I'm hoping that maybe one of those things can help you as well. And emotionally, therapy. Therapy. One thing that I was very consistent with was going to therapy. I felt like during that time of me grieving my father, I could not talk to a lot of people about it, especially my immediate family members because they were grieving as well. I felt like I could talk to my friends, but I didn't want to make them sad, even though that's not the case. Nobody ever told me this, but that was just how I was feeling. Like I was just down all the time. And sometimes people really just don't know what to say. And grief does that. It really freezes you up. So it was difficult. But talking to my therapist every week, having her hear me out, and providing very tangible homework, like tangible projects and homework for me to do, to try, to consider, So it really helped infiltrate my thought process to say, okay, maybe I could do this or maybe I could try that. So that really helped me out. Her assistance in believing in me, reminding me of who I was, encouraging me to go with my friends, encouraging me to for me to of my care for myself and meeting me where I was at. I never felt forced or I felt like she was doing too much. She was really like the perfect person for me because she challenged me enough where I heard her and I didn't feel disrespected, but she gave me a lot of room and space to be sad and vulnerable. And I always told her, like, I can't look at her or say a word without it being questioned. So she'll say, "How are you today?" And I'm like, "I don't know." She's like, "Nope, I need an emotion word." And I'm like, "Oh, girl, I don't know." I was telling her actually not too long ago that she's like, "Oh, food for thought." I'm like, "Sis, this ain't no food for thought. You give Thanksgiving dinner and I'm already full. So don't talk about no food for thought." Okay? Cuz she be going in. Like, when somebody says a question, you're like, "Dang, wow, I got to really process this." So, my therapist, love her so much. Such an angel in my life. Helped me out in understanding my emotions, understanding how grief is, and made me realize, okay, what you're feeling is actually normal. Yes, you feel this way. Yeah, because you feel that way. Like, she really helped me and still continues to help me connect the dots. So I love you so much. I love you so much. Thank you so much, my grief counselor. So, in addition to therapy, I also had a grief counselor, and he also helped me emotionally because he was the transportation to help me into getting back spiritually. Every session was involving God, scripture, prayer, and that helped me out a lot. Yeah, I had a lot of questions, and of course, he can't give me the answer of like, why did my father pass away? But he provided insight that was comforting for the soul, and he was very patient. And he really cared about my well being. He really cared about me progressing. He really cared about me moving forward. And I did not like when he said that. Like, I used to be so annoyed. Like, what do you mean you have to move forward? Like, I hated hearing it. But that was because I was so deep in my grief and he paid attention to me and he remembered the things that I would say. Like, I was always so impressed with my therapist and my grief counselor because during the time of the session, they're not looking at notes. So I'm saying things and they're like, okay, yeah, because last week you said, well, dang, like, you remembered? Last week you said this. And I'm like, oh, I did. No, I didn't. Yeah, you did. You said da da da. And I'm like, oh, thank you. So my grief counselor helped a lot. He helped me a lot, and not just me, but my family. So, in addition to having grief counseling with sessions with my family, I also would talk with him one on one. And he literally said, "Call me anytime." And he meant it. Like, I would call him anytime, and he would always call me back and talk to me for as long as I needed, and always prayed with me before we get off the phone, and always reminded me how much God loves me and how much God wants to have a relationship with me. And that makes sense because, as I told you, I was not, I wasn't talking to him like that. So having them both there really helped me emotionally. I felt like when I didn't really know like who to talk to, I knew that I had that support from them, and that helped me out a lot. Tremendously helped me out. Something else that helped me out and was the catalyst to my communication with friends and family, voice notes. OMGZ. I love voice notes. I love them. When I was in a space of isolation, I needed to kind of tiptoe myself back into communication. And it wasn't really with the phone. So I'm not really a texter. Usually with my friends, I like to talk to them on the phone, but I couldn't talk. So voice notes were freaking amazing. I was able to just say, "Hey, I know you've been sending me messages. Thank you so much." And I was able to send that message whenever I wanted and then respond whenever I wanted. So the reason why I loved it so much was because there was no pressure. And I love that. The voice notes really was the catalyst to my communication being increased because of the fact that I can listen and respond whenever. and the person would get it. I could get a voice note Monday, respond Thursday. Like I loved it. I was able to say how I felt. They could say how they felt. And it was important to me because sometimes I wouldn't be in a good space to talk, right? So let's say you send me a voice note Monday. I'm not good Monday, but I'm good on Thursday. I can respond on Thursday. So voice notes and that helped me emotionally. It really did. I was able to say a lot of my emotions on voice notes. I call my voice notes people because there's I don't send voice notes to everybody because not everybody's a voice note person. But I have a VC crew, the voice note crew. And um I still have them till this day. I love it. I love it. And I think that what I had to learn was as I was coming trying to come into a space of stability with my grief, I had to have different communication styles with different people. Some people, I do have to see them in person. Some people, I just have to call them. Some people love the voice notes. Some people, we text here and there. You know what I mean? So different people get different communication responses. But I'm telling you, voice notes, bomb. And especially because I do drive and I'm always in my car, so convenient. I could literally be coming out the shower, putting my body butter on, like, yeah, girl. So today, I went to TJ Maxx and I bought two body butters, like it's just great. I love voice notes. Something else that really helped me out a lot was talking to my friends and family. So the voice notes was like a catalyst that helped me get there, but literally spending time with my friends and my family and laughing and reminiscing and joking and sharing stories and like just it was awesome. I missed them and I needed someone to interrupt me. I will say isolation is so dangerous because there's no one to interrupt your thoughts. There's no one to say, yeah, like, have you thought about it this way? So talking to my friends, talking to my family, talking to my cousins. Come from a really big family. Talking to my cousins, my family, my family as in my cousins and then my immediate family, my mother, my brother, my sister, all of that really helped me out emotionally because laughter is awesome. You know, knowing that you're loved is awesome. Talking to people who really care about you is just awesome. So being in that space where I can talk to my friends and family really, really tremendously helps me out because I needed that love. I needed to be reminded. It's like grief erased my memory of feeling almost, right? And I needed to be reminded of who I was. And my friends and family reminded me of who I was and who I'm going to be, right? So I appreciate all of you, like my friends and family who are listening for your patience and understanding and understanding my emotions and my isolation and not taking it personal. Like I thank you so much. I really thank you so much because you help me more than you know. I don't forget any text message, any phone call, any comment that anyone has made to me after my father passed away. It's like my memory is just on point. I remember everything. Nothing goes unnoticed. Literally 3 years later, I texted my cousin, like, listen, I appreciate you for always checking in on me. Nothing goes on unnoticed. I'm grateful for you and I love you. So, yeah, nothing goes unnoticed. So, talking to my friends and family helped me understand Erica again. I will say that. And also talking to my mother, I would say getting to know her story, getting to know things about her and how her and my father met and their love story and what love is to her and marriage and just getting to know the woman, right? I know who mom is, but getting to know the woman behind the title, right? And I enjoy that. That actually really helped with my emotional healing because it's like ancestry. Like I'm discovering who I am and I'm seeing there's certain things that we do have in common and the way that I am. And I'm like, oh, I get that from you, and I'm realizing that now. Or just certain stories that I never knew about her and my dad. And I'm like, wow, what? I think sometimes we forget that our parents are people. They are people. They were teenagers once, they were young adolescents. We look at them as the authoritative figure, but these are people. And I think when you get older, you get to a space where you want to discover who is the person behind mommy, behind daddy. Who is this person? You know what I mean? So talking to her has helped me out a lot. And spending time with my siblings. I was very, very intentional about having sibling days. So spending time with my brother and my sister, trying out a different restaurant, watching a show together, cooking together, just laughing together, joking around together. Because siblings, we be arguing, but we love each other a lot. So, spending time with my family has helped me out so much emotionally. It really has. Like all the things that I'm sharing, what I'm hoping is that you can pull from my experiences as a beacon of inspiration to know how much presence is important. It is vital. I don't know where I would be without support. I don't know where I would be without it. And I'm so grateful for every single person in my life that has contributed to my support, whether it's family, friends, professionally, strangers, it doesn't matter. Like, I am so forever grateful because there's no way I would have been able to move with this grief without you. So I thank you so, so much. Thank you so much. Now, we are going to go into the third phase of support, which might be a little surprising to you. What actually really, really helped me. I wasn't surprised, but I'm like, wow, this is really affecting me. It was interesting. So, before we get into stage three, there was another surprise level of support that really helped me out, and I didn't think it was going to. And that was actually joining a grief group. I was so resistant on joining a grief group because I felt like, why would I join a group with other people who are depressed and sad and they're going to talk about their loved one? I did not look at it from a perspective of, oh, this could be really helpful. It was just like, no. So my therapist has been telling me throughout our sessions, like, I think it would be really beneficial for you to join a grief group. And the reason being was that I couldn't talk to my family. Number one, I wanted to respect that we are all grieving in different levels. We're not at the same space. So if you have lost someone that was instrumental to your family and there's multiple people who are affected, the stages of grief are just not, it's not in sync, right? So there's certain days where I might be good and this person may not, and I wanted to be very sensitive and understanding to their grief and their level of where they are emotionally, because it's hard, it's difficult. So sometimes I would have a happy thought or a moment and then I would just break down and cry. Sometimes I would break down and cry and I don't see happiness at all. So because I was going through so many levels, up and down, up and down, up and down, I knew that my family was too. So I wanted to respect, their space and have their healing journey be individualized to them, right? The thing about healing is that just because I'm healing and I want you to heal, I can't force anyone to heal the same time as me. It's just not going to happen. So she was mentioning the grief group and I'm like, no, I was resistant. No, I'm not doing it. No, no, no. I don't think it makes sense. I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe, but no action, right? Like me actually looking for a grief group, not gonna happen. But you know how God does. He finds a way to, get his work done. So I remember that day. I remember I was in my car and this was a moment where I was sad actually. I was in my car, I passed by a body of water and I just broke down crying. It was a trigger that just came out of nowhere. And that tends to happen a lot with grief. Like you'll just have these triggering moments, the grief attack, where it just you could literally be, I don't know, just doing anything and not even thinking about anything and just start crying out of nowhere. And I'm like, am I weird? So going to therapy really helps me understand that no, these grief attacks are normal and this is what's going to happen. I'm like, but I wasn't thinking about anything. I wasn't, I was just driving and I just started crying. So I passed by the body of water. I cried. And I would say, I was like, I parked my car and I'm just like in my own thoughts. And I would say about 15 minutes later, I got an email. And the email was talking about a grief group. And it was because there was another company that I was having therapy with, and they sent an email about, oh, we're doing these grief groups. And I'm like, wow. So I looked into it, I read the email, and I said to myself, you know what? My therapist has been talking about this for so long. Oh, what's the worst that could happen? So I told myself, I'm going to try it out and do one session. And if I don't like it, I'm out. Like, I ain't doing this no more. I'm out. I'm out. I'm not doing this. So I looked up the date. They did call to because it was a very small group. So they just wanted to make sure that I would be great for the group, etc. So they called me, they talked to me about my grief and how I felt and where I was. And they said, I think you'll be a great candidate for the group. So I said, okay. So we did the group. And I will say the first session was a bit, it was really rough because in the first session, everybody is going um, and talking about their loved one and who has passed away and how they passed away and where they are and how they felt. And I it was a little challenging because, it's a lot of crying, it's a lot of silence, it's a lot of heavy breathing. It was a bit much. But what I found was I did the first session and I was like, wow, it was interesting because it was refreshing to be in a space where everybody understood what I was going through. I was able to share things in a different way. So then I did the second week and the third week and the fourth week, and we did exercises, and we've learned the different areas of grief and how a lot of things that we're going through that we thought we were crazy, we're not. And we were like, oh my God, you experienced that too? You did that too? You went through that too? And it was like, oh my God, I'm not crazy. So, of course, with the grief group, it doesn't last forever. So it got to the point where we were at the end and I got really close with these ladies. I enjoyed talking to them. I was able to tell them about my grief attacks and my triggering moments with my dad and how I went to the store and I thought about this and I was very detailed and vulnerable and I was like, "Whoa, I'm actually talking." Like I did not think I was going to do that. And it was a big support, better than I thought. And I'm like, so now the grief group is like, we're at our last day. And I'm like, so what's gonna happen? Like, this is it? Like, no more? So then I remember the therapist was like, well, Erica, we were thinking that maybe you could continue and you guys can continue. So I was like, absolutely. Like, I enjoyed talking to these ladies. I didn't want it to just be over. We shared a lot with each other in addition to our grief and how it's affecting us in so many different ways. We started talking about all of our highlights for the week and what we've been doing. So I created a Google Meet. I sent them the links. We created a day and every Monday that's our time. Every Monday we talk in the evening and it has been so impactful because not only are we talking about the grief and if any attacks came about or any thoughts or if we had a rough week or we also share about our weeks in general. It's been beautiful to see so much life that has been happening. One of the ladies, um, she was pregnant. She did have her baby. So cute. One of the other ladies started going out more. One of the other ladies is going out as well, spending time with her family, recognizing her emotions more. And we've just been talking and sharing not only the grief, but our advances. Like, oh my God, I went out with my friend and it was a great day. And we're like, yay! Like, we're all excited because in that grief moment, it's just like you don't want to do anything. So every little thing that we do had to be celebrated. And I was so grateful to be in that space. And I'm so grateful now to still have them in my life. They are a part of my life. You know what I mean? So in addition to my friends and my, the therapy and the grief group and my, and my family, I also have my grief support, which I've called it now the healing sisters or the healing group or something like that. What did I call it? Healing sister? Oh, the sisterhood of healing. That's what I called it now, the sisterhood of healing, because I feel like we are more, than the grief. We are really working towards healing into a better space. And it really has been instrumental. And I really suggest that you try it out. I was resistant. Trust me when I tell you. It did not make sense to me. Why would I do that? But I love and I look forward to talking to them because there's certain things that I don't share with my friends that these ladies know. They know about the intricacies of my grief. They know about the moments that I broke down. They know about, oh, I traveled, but I had a moment where I was not good. They know. And it's been great to have that safe space. So having that layer of support was phenomenal. And, I do recommend that you try it out. If you are finding that, you're in a space where you can't really express in full detail to certain people because you want to be respectful of where they are. Having a grief group is very, very impactful, and I love it. And they ain't going nowhere. Like we locked in. We are locked in. We already been together for a year, so every single week consistently we have been talking, and it's been great to have another layer of vulnerability that I didn't think I needed. I honestly, I did not think I needed that. I felt like I was really good with my support with everything, but the grief group allowed me to share things in a very deeper, more meaningful way with my emotions. I have a place for these emotions. I can say certain things, and it has been great. It really has. And I love them. I love these ladies. I love my support. I strongly, strongly encourage you to lean on your support. And if you don't have it, create it. Create it. People don't know what you need. You really cannot heal what you don't reveal. If I'm not telling you my really low points, how can you help me? How can I even know what kind of help I need? So it has been phenomenal. I'm so grateful for them. I'm so grateful for my support in my life, and I wouldn't be able to do it without my support with the grief group, with my family and with my friends. So it's been great and really helpful during this difficult time, still difficult time, still going through a lot of things weekly, still breaking down, still really sad, still going through a lot of my emotions. So to have a place where I can be safe and open has been phenomenal. But I did want to get into sorry guys, my throat is like so scratchy. I think it's this weather with like allergies and everything. It's crazy. I did want to get into something else that I'm like, wow, this has been really, really helping me um, with healing and with feeling and seeing and just being again. So we're gonna get into that right now. So stage three of support for me was interesting because I've always loved this, but I'm like, wow, this is really affecting me. And that is aromatherapy. Now, aromatherapy is utilizing essential oils, but I'm talking about it in the sense of anything that smelled good really influenced me to do more. So when it came to body wash, like going to TJ Maxx and getting body butters, opening up, I'm closing my eyes and I'm like, I love this. It makes me feel good. Or a body wash, deodorant, anything, the bars of soap, the body oils, smelling perfume. Like I remember just going to Bloomingdale's and just smelling different perfumes just because the different body sprays, candles for my room, anything that had ocean breeze, ocean, anything, ocean, ocean, ocean. I bought it because I was so into having my space smell good. Anything that I can control of smelling good, I'm going to do that. So whether it's my candles, whether it's my body, even my hand lotion, even the antibacterial hand gel that I use, all of that. I was so intentional with that. My car air fresheners, I was lucky enough to find affirmational air fresheners. And one of them says, I am enough. One of them says, you are at the right place at the right time. So I just needed to see and smell all of that because once I get into my car, sometimes I like, at a red light or a stop sign, you just kind of like thinking. So when my eyes wander, I like the fact that I wanted it to wander to something positive. So even my car air fresheners were affirmational. my cleaning products. My friend actually told me about a cleaning product, and the scent was citrus and eucalyptus, and it was a multi-purpose cleaner. And I'm like, I need that. I need that. So everything that smells good made me feel good, and really encouraged me to get out. Because now, if you have this new perfume, I want to wear it. Or I have this new body wash, I'm doing my own self care day, and I'm feeling good about it, and I'm smiling, and I'm closing my eyes, and my energy is different now, and it's elevated because I feel good, because I smell good. And anything that dealt with the scent, I was like sold. So I was really into that. Aromatherapy helped me out very much. And I was very much into all of that all together. It was not just one thing, it was not just the candles or just the body wash, it was everything combined. I loved smelling good. And I still love smelling good. I still loved it, and I still enjoyed it. So aromatherapy really helped with supporting me. I will say that. It really did, because there was a time where I didn't want to shower. So when I actually found the strength to shower, and I was motivated by the body wash, I was motivated by the body butter, I was motivated by the hair care products, just anything that smelled good, I am here for it. Till this day, my car, my home, my body, my deodorant, my lip gloss, my cleaning products, you name it. And I'm sold for it to ignite me, because it really allowed me to move in a different space. Like, I really, like, my energy shifted when I took a shower, and I was slow, and I was mindful, and I'm smelling the body wash. It's like a citrus, and I'm smelling the shea butter body butter, and I'm putting this coconut body oil. Like, I felt it. So aromatherapy, that helped me tremendously. And it was like a little project for me. It was something that I looked forward to doing, like going to TJ Maxx and like smelling it. Because sometimes, like I said, I would get into these moments where I just didn't know what to do. And somehow, when I don't know what to do, I always end up at TJ Maxx. So for those who are listening internationally, TJ Maxx is also a store that's like a bargain store. It's just amazing. They sell everything: pots, clothes, shoes, gummy bears. They have really good gummy bears, by the way. Um, jewelry, perfume, everything. And I used to just love going there just to browse, just to look, just to see. Sometimes I wouldn't even buy anything, but it's the fact that it really entertained my eyes. And I'm like, wow, this place is so cool. I cannot wait to get a brand deal with TJ Maxx. I love that store so much, because during my depressive moments, I was able to find so many great wall art there, my body butters there, my body wash there. Like, I was able to find all of those things there, and it was great. So yeah, TJ Maxx, you got my heart. But aromatherapy really helped. And I would suggest that for you, when you go to a store or anything, just smell. Like, I would spend 20 minutes in the candle aisle just smelling candles and seeing what spoke to me. I would smell it, close my eyes. This smells like mangoes by the beach. And I would purchase it, because I know that when I would go home, I can visualize it in that way. So I would recommend that anything that speaks to you on the scent side would definitely help in aiding with the healing, because it in that moment, there's a little bit of joy. In that moment, there's a little bit of joy. But then, in addition to the aromatherapy, it's like, this is all great. But now we got to get into some more action. And there were still certain things that I needed to do. So let's get into stage number 4. Because I'm like, step number 4? Because I said the stages of support. So let's get into stage number 4 of support. So with my stages of support, I didn't get into full action just yet. So just to recap, stage number 1 is spiritual. Stage number 2 is emotional. Stage number 3 is aromatherapy. And stage number 4 is now physical. So that's what I meant by getting into some action because physically, what am I going to do? Right? What am I going to do? And what I did physically was follow up with people and physically be with them, right? So emotionally, yes, I was able to talk to them on the phone. That was the start, right? Talk to them on the phone, have FaceTime. It was a nice, smooth transition for me. But the physical part was when people would say, "Hey, let's go to dinner," actually going. "Hey, let's get a coffee," actually getting coffee. "Hey, do you want to go to the mall?" Actually going to the mall. And that was really hard for me. It was really hard because I I was still struggling with at this time of like dressing up and being myself. I just wanted to wear black. I didn't care about how I looked. I didn't want to get dressed. Like everything was very overwhelming for me. And I think with grief, that's what it feels like. Like everything is just overwhelming. You just don't want to think about anything because you're thinking all day. So going out to people, I wasn't looking at it from a perspective of, oh, this is gonna help me. I looked at hanging out with people as a chore. Oh God, now I gotta now I gotta take a shower, put clothes on, put this on, go outside, bring my bag. Like nothing felt easy for me. So hanging out with people actually was not as easy as people may think it is. At least it wasn't for me. But when I actually did go out, when I actually did challenge myself, when I actually did follow up with people, I always ended up having an amazing time within my area of comfort, right? So let's say I wasn't dressed and we just went to go get coffee or we just went to, you know, um, walk in the mall. I still had a great time. And I started smiling again. I started laughing again. I would go to the park and I would meet my friends and family members at the park and doing all of these things. And so being with people has helped me out physically. It has helped me out a lot. Hugging people, touching them, hearing them, seeing them, hearing a story and seeing the expression and seeing how their eyes lit up when they saw me. It was a really beautiful sight to see. So I needed to do that physically. It was very, very difficult. It took me months to really hang out with people and be in their presence and, go to brunch and go to lunch and go to dinner and go to coffee. Like it was hard to be social. But with the help of therapy, therapy really helped me get there. It really helped me get there. Going to events, like networking events, birthday parties, dinners, weddings, actually being in the celebration was very motivating for me and it really pushed me because I was happy in that moment. And in those moments, I didn't think about anything. And I was so nervous that my grief was going to overshadow everything because I feel like the grief is just this bear. And it's just like, I try to be happy and it's like, nope, you can't, you know? So having the opportunity to be around people and laugh and love and talk and physically be there was powerful for me. That helps me out a lot. Going to networking events and meeting other people who are doing their own thing and doing their businesses, that was motivating to me. Social media has its ups and downs, but I will say I was very motivated to hear people's stories, including my own friends and family, because I will say a lot of my friends and family are doing amazing things. So to hear their stories really motivated me to like, oh, you could do it too. So before, remember I told you about what I was listening to when she said, what do you think? What do you know? How do you feel? What do you think? And what are you going to decide to do? Hanging out with people actually reframed my thought processes. It really did. Before it was like, you ain't shit. And then it was like, no, you are. And you can do this. And if you need help, these are the people that can help you. So physically being with people helped me out a lot. Taking walks. was really powerful for me too. Being with nature, I know that people talk about that all the time, but being with nature does something to you. So I would go to the park, walk in the park, write in the park, send voice notes in the park, drink my coffee in the park, walk on the trail. All of these things helped me out a lot, and that is actually where my inspiration came from with my creating the playlist, because I was walking in the park listening to really great positive affirmational music. And I thought about, what if there was somebody who was trying to start again and they wanted to listen to something positive and encouraging? And that's when I created that playlist. If you want to listen to that playlist, go to savethegoodgirl.com, click on links, and I have it there exclusive for Spotify and Apple Music. Those are the only two platforms I have it on right now. But I think you can like sign up for Spotify for free and you can still listen to it. Really great for starting over, really great music for just in the morning, just really great. It's called the Refresh List. I actually was with one of my friends, and I was like, refreshing. I want something refreshing. She was like, oh, refresh list. And I'm like, I love that. So it's called the Refresh List on SaveTheGoodGirl.com. So taking walks, listening to the positive music, being with people, and traveling. So one thing about depression is that you lose interest in things you once loved. And I love to travel. I love to be in a different space. I love to be by the beach, by the water. And with depression, I'm like, oh, I don't care about that. So actually traveling again, it was triggering because I would always like text my whole family when I was like leaving and coming home. And the fact that my dad wasn't on that thread, it was triggering. It was triggering. But I will say, like, being in a different city or in a different country, out of my own four walls, these four walls, I feel like it holds my energy of thoughts. So to leave and then come back, it's like my thoughts were washed up a little bit. So traveling also physically helps me get up. And for you, you don't have to travel physically, like travel. Like you can just travel to the next area near you, the next city near you, 2 blocks from you. Anything physically is going to assist you. Being with people is important. Talking is important. Going outside is important. Going to different events where you don't know anybody. It's a challenge, but it's important. And I just think the physical part of the healing journey, the physical part of support is one of the most important ones, because physically we need to challenge ourselves. And with depression, you're so used to isolation and being home. Nobody understands. And you'll be surprised actually when you talk to people who actually do understand. Because when you're going through your grief, you don't really see anybody else. But the truth is, people are really going through some things, and you're like, wow, we have more in common than I thought we did. So I challenge you to take a step, a step, with being with someone. And again, guys, I'm talking about grief in many different forms, right? So just in any form, talking to someone, being with somebody, having those conversations, laughing, storytelling. People would share things with me that I never knew I'd even know. They're like, "Oh, Erica, you told me this one time, and that's why I'm doing this." And I'm like, "Me?" Because I was so insecure. I felt so low about myself. I couldn't. I just, I'm just going back to that place of how low I was, and oh, I just couldn't see myself being an inspiration to anybody at that time. And to know that I was, and being told was major. So I encourage you to take a small step towards reaching out to somebody, or going outside, or going to a coffee shop, or anything. Like if you love animals, going to a pet store. I don't know, anything to physically get you moving, because that really helps me out a lot. And I truly believe that it will help you too. And now we are getting to our final stage of support. Wow. Final stage of support. Actually, there's no final stages of support, but this is my final fifth stage for this podcast of support. So we went through the stages so far, which is spiritual, emotional, aromatherapy, and physical. And all of these stages had a contribution of either other people or things, right, that really can help with the healing. The last stage is personal because none of this even matters if you're not included, right? We have to participate and make the decision. So the last stage of support was me supporting myself. And that happened last because I couldn't do it first. I couldn't. I needed that help. And the trajectory in which I went through the stages is exactly how it is happening for me, right? It's interesting how I started and where I am. Spiritually, I started there. Then I had to check in with my emotions. Then I realized, oh my God, I like the way this smells, aromatherapy, all of these things. And then physically being with people. And it's like, okay, I need to do the work. I need to do the work. So with personal, what I mean by that is your personal appearance. Another thing about depression is you don't care about how you look, right? So I really took my time to do a morning routine for my skincare and a nighttime routine for my skincare and actually writing it out because again I had to like remember how to do these things again. My skin was looking horrific and I'm like, okay, no, I have to do something about it. So my physical appearance with my skincare. I started shopping again and I started with like little things like a headband or maybe like a new top, um, earrings, like accessories, sandals, swimsuits. Like it was like little by little. I wasn't like doing everything all at once, but it was like, okay, one, oh, this headband is nice. Oh, this t shirt is nice. So, like getting little things here and there. Also, grooming. I love getting my nails done. I am the epitome of a girly girl. I love getting my nails done and I love sparkles and I love like the little diamonds on the nails. I love that. The rhinestones, love it. And I wasn't doing any of that. So, like, actually doing my nails and putting a mask on my face and shaving and getting my eyebrows done and putting my wigs on, like actually taking care of myself and how I looked. Cleaning also helps me out. So, I changed my room completely. So my room, I used to have like this mauve color and I changed it to a sea green. I wanted something very calming and therapeutic. So I changed my room completely. I did a super, super deep clean. I modernized my room. Everything is like new. I got new long curtains and I wanted everything to be white and I organized all of my jewelry and my candles, and I threw out bags of stuff like old clothes, things that you're just worn out, like you've outgrown them, you're not going to wear it. So I gave it all away. It was just kind of keeping up space in my room. So I decided to change my room completely and keep it organized. And now I know where everything is. Now I know where everything is. Another thing that really helped me out personally was YouTube. So I actually watched a video with Sweetie, the rapper, even though people be talking about her rapping skills, but in this video, she was doing a morning routine. I think it was with Vogue or with Elle, and it was just so peaceful to watch of her like getting ready and putting her serum and her moisturizer and her toner and all the things that she's using. And I watched that video like I don't know how many times. And I love that she had a silk robe on and she just looked so peaceful. So I started watching more of the skincare reviews and different products to use. What do you do if you have big pores? And then talking to my cousin about it a lot and then creating my own skincare routine and finding the products that works for me. And I started watching a lot of videos like how to be pretty, how did I get my life back on track? How to start over, how to know if God is talking to you. So I loved all of those like lifestyle videos. I found that they were very soothing to me and really helps me out a lot. And I liked watching like the feminine videos, like how to be pretty and how to look cute every day because I wasn't looking cute every day. So I wanted to see like how people were doing that. And it was soothing for me. And this is exactly why I decided to start a lifestyle page. You can follow this page on Instagram. It's called Exquisitely Erica. And it was really motivated during that time because I loved watching it. And it's like you'll be surprised, right, of how many people will be inspired by your work and your content. And yes, you're like just reviewing a perfume, but I loved it. It helps me out so much because I didn't want to think about anything sometimes and I didn't want to talk to anybody. And I'm not really a big TV or movie person like that. I do watch TV, but not like, regular. So watching these videos was like such a beautiful escape to me. Like I loved it. So watching the YouTube videos, creating my own routine in the morning, looking at my finances, because another thing about depression, you are completely irresponsible when it comes to your finances. You're just all over the place. So like really looking at my finances, paying attention to what I'm doing, what I'm spending money on, just taking that time, right, to really understand like what's going on. And then something else that helped me out a lot was knowing my boundaries and sharing them with others. So not only did I have boundaries, I would tell people, hey, here is what I cannot do. You know what I mean? Here's what I would prefer. Now I'm willing to work with people, but like I like to be honest because I want to have a good time, but I know that I'm emotionally sensitive and because I am getting assistance with therapy, I am very emotionally heightened and I am emotionally aware. So I know when I'm triggered, I know when I need space. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like due to that, I can share that with other people. And that's exactly what I was doing. Also, practicing mindfulness. So my therapist actually had a mindfulness group for a couple of weeks and I loved it. I was a part of it. And it really taught me to be mindful. Like when I'm outside, be outside. Let's not think about everything. Just see the trees and feel the breeze. When you're eating something, see the flavors. When you smell something, smell it. So being mindful and being still and processing has helped me out tremendously. Tremendously. Also challenging my mind to be positive daily and like reframe my thinking has helped a lot. That also helps with therapy because I don't tend to do that. I tend to think of the worst case scenario and I want to think about the best case scenario. My friend actually told me that her therapist told her that, and I was like, that's true. So doing that and allowing myself to feel my emotions and to be down and cry and miss my dad. Challenging myself to keep going. Going through the grieving process is not saying, oh, to heal, you have to forget about your loved one. That's not what it is. I miss my father so much. I still cry, and when I think about him, I still have my sad moments, and I allow myself to be there. And that's how I am supporting myself emotionally. That's how I'm able to move forward. And as my grief counselor told me, you know that you're getting better when you're able to think about your loved one and it doesn't completely freeze you up. And it stuck with me because I realized I did that when I was getting ready for the podcast. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I broke down and I recorded in 10 minutes. I never thought I was going to be able to get there ever. I'm so grateful that I am. And I know that you are too. So it's ironic, right? Because you would think this would be the first stage, I would say, of support, but it's not. It is the final because I needed so much in order for me to get personal. I needed so much. But what I'm grateful for is that so much needed me too. And I was able to utilize the support of others to aid in my healing and understanding that life is not easy, but it's even worse and harder when you do this alone. You have your support. Even listening to this podcast is your support. If something spoke to you, please reach out to me. SaveTheGoodGirl.com, contact, send me a message, communicate with me on social media. I would love to hear your thoughts of what really spoke with you or something that you've tried and it worked. I would love to hear that because it's not easy. It's not easy. But in addition to getting all the support from everybody and everything, the biggest supporter will always have to be you first. In the darkest times during my grief, I think about the many nights and mornings and afternoons I felt extremely alone because my brain and the functioning of the words coming out of my mouth, they were not aligned. It was hard for me to speak. It was hard for me to be. I didn't know how to articulate myself. I didn't know what to say. I just knew that my body and my mind and my spiritual and emotional side was just going through all these changes, and I could not keep up. The power of presence really allowed me to find my voice again. It allowed me to remember who I was. It allowed me to remember who really is in control, and it's not me. It allowed me to be in a space of productivity. It allowed me to have hope, and I would not be where I am right now to even record this episode without it. You know, people always talk about, oh, it takes a village to raise a child. Like, it takes a village to raise a human being at any stage of life. We need support. And I really want to challenge you with thinking about what are your 5 stages of support. In this episode, I wanted to detail my trajectory and what helped me, and hoping that maybe there's some inspiration for you, something that you didn't think about, something that you're like, I want to try that. But think about your 5 stages of support. What does that look like for you? Is one of that, riding your bike every day, like something physical in that way? Is one of them lighting a candle and reading a book? Is one of them going to therapy? Like, what is that look like? Like, what does that look like for you? What is that for you? And I challenge you to think about it in that way. I challenge you to be a bit more open when it comes to being around people, because isolation does not give any room for joy, none whatsoever. And I didn't realize it while I was deep in it, but slowly as I'm with people, I noticed how important it was to talk and cry and laugh and be and have fun and be present. It felt great. It felt wonderful. And sometimes I did have some concerns with myself in terms of how I was grieving, because I felt really bad. Like, I had survivor's remorse. That's what it is. Survivor's remorse, because I felt like, how could you have fun and you're so sad? But then I thought about my dad, and I thought about how much he would want me to live, and how much he would want me to enjoy my life, and how much I want to do the same. And it took me some time to get there. So I really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please leave me a message on SAVETHEGOODGIRL.com. You can follow me on social media, communicate with me there. I would love to hear your thoughts. And just take your time and know that you cannot do this alone. I don't know much. I don't have proof on a lot of things, but I can guarantee you that you cannot do this by yourself. And I challenge you to reach out to your resources, gain resources, join a group, start praying, reach out to family, reach out to friends, tell people how you feel. You'll be surprised of the amount of people who feel the same way. And, take it easy. Take it easy, one step at a time. And one step towards better is better than nothing at all. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. We will talk again next week. Next week, we're going to have part 4 of the grief series, and then we're going to continue on with so many other great episodes that I have in store. So thank you so much for listening. And remember, you are entirely up to you. And the power of presence is something that can literally shift your life.